Okay, it is July 4th, around 1 a.m. We're watching Hurricane Arthur moving in on the Outer Banks of North Carolina in the early morning hours here with winds of 100 miles per hour. There's already been a gust to 101 miles per hour in Cape Lookout, around 87 miles per hour just to the east of that, and a gust to 71 in Cape Hatteras. Now, this is the current position using the HurrTrack program of Hurricane Arthur. Here's what's going to happen over the next several hours. Here's our position as of 2 a.m. It'll be right over or near Cape Hatteras, and then it'll begin to move away from Cape Hatteras at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. It'll begin to pull away from the entire area, and conditions will begin to improve in the Outer Banks. Now let's go ahead and take a look at a radar of our current position of Hurricane Arthur. And here's the WeatherTap HD radar showing our current position of Hurricane Arthur. And it's just northeast of Morehead City, North Carolina, right near Ocracoke Island. And the system continues to move off very quickly to the northeast around 18 miles per hour. And this is going to accelerate throughout the early morning hours. Okay, now here's a shot of Mark Sudduth's surge cam from HurricaneTrack.com. What he's done now is he's in Rodanthe in the Outer Banks north of Cape Hatteras, and he's on the sound side with this surge cam. He set it up on it looks like a boat launch ramp area of some sort, and what we're waiting to see now is the hurricane moves through the Outer Banks. The winds are going to shift around to the west and push that water back towards the western-facing shores of the Pamlico Sound area, and that's going to give us an idea of the surge coming in from the west as the hurricane begins to pull away, and we're going to see where this storm surge cam goes. So we're going to keep a real close eye on this. And there it is, and you can see the wave action is picking up on there. They still have electricity, obviously, so we'll be keeping an eye on this cam. Now, this cam, I believe, has a battery backup for it, and we'll see how long that lasts once the power goes out. Now, we're also monitoring Jeff Piotrowski. Jeff Piotrowski is a storm chaser. He is in the Outer Banks. He's mobile at the moment, on the move, and he's pretty animated at times. He's got some real interesting things to say about the surge and the wind and things he observes flying through the air, so we'll get some real good insight from Jeff as the morning progresses. Just north of Cape Hatteras and Rodanthe, so that's probably where he's sitting right now. And of course, once again, here is the surge cam, so we're going to keep a real close eye on this and see how this happens. It's the first time a camera's ever been deployed in the water in a hurricane just to see where it goes and how the current's moving around, so this will be real interesting to watch.
24-inch rafter insulation come off either maybe underneath the floor or off the roof. There's stuff coming apart here on this. It's going to be the I'm going to get it tells me that if I see insulation flying through the air, that means the roof's exposed or there's decking coming off the buildings. I've got insulation coming off the buildings here. There's probably a roof or something's been compromised here on the eastern side. There's insulation flying through the air.
Is right in there. So that's where the strongest winds are, and those strongest winds are heading right for Rodanthe and waves. That's where Jim Cantore is. Salvo is right below that, and they're really going to get it.
Damage around here. Just so much. The damage west here is going to be worse toward Hatteras for sure. Both the storm surge from the south coming over the South Berry Islands, the dunes, and as well as wind damage for sure. They were probably 90+ mile-an-hour winds over there, based on Doppler, which is not uncommon. It's very typical. You're going to need about 4 to 6 inches of, that's about 4 inches of sand. I'm pointing due north now, so that the wind's to my rear of the car. And look at this, it's like a sandstorm. I mean, look at this, visibility is about 25 feet. This is live.
you can see the direction of the wind now, generally from the south, maybe a little bit southeast there. But as soon as this circulation gets just past them, it's going to come around the other way. And that's what's going to be very dangerous, because what's happened here is the water has been driven away, and now it's going to be released back. And as Michael Lowry said, springing back over toward Jim Cantore and the crew there in waves on the eastern side. And Jim is now back with us in the wind and getting ready for the eye wall there. Jim Cantore, take it away.
Brian, we missed the truck back a little bit, but unfortunately this is moving pretty quickly now, and I'm afraid the winds are going to back around and hit our truck on this side. So we're going to have to play little game of time, and I think we're going to have to come down again actually in a little while, because once that wind starts coming around off the water, we're going to be open to it here. So we're going to have to get on the other side of the building. And those are just, some of the logistical problems when you have a wind field that's going to change by 180 degrees.
Okay, while you're watching Jeff Piotrowski's live cam from the Outer Banks, I believe these guys are pretty close to each other. Mark Sudduth is up in Rodanthe, and Jeff Piotrowski is up near Nags Head, I believe. And just got the advisory from the National Hurricane Center, the 3 a.m., it says that the 3 a.m., not 3 p.m., Okay, the Hurricane Center is reporting that a weather flow station located near Avon, which is just north of Cape Hatteras, reported a sustained wind of 73 miles per hour and a wind gust of 84. The U.S. Coast Guard station just west of Cape Hatteras recently reported a wind gust of 89 miles per hour. So we're talking Cat 1 type winds here. In some of the open-facing beaches of the Outer Banks. Now, what's going to be interesting to see here coming up is, as this eye wall moves on shore in the northern Outer Banks and gets out into the open Atlantic, does the water pile up and come in from the southwest and cause a large surge? Also, Mark Sudduth's surge cam is not working for some reason. I keep reloading it. It's just dead. It's not working. So we're just relying on these two guys streaming cams, and we're watching the Weather Channel, and we're monitoring some of the webcams. In fact, you notice that conditions are getting real bad there. You can even see the rain blowing towards the lens. That lens, that's pretty cool. And there's our position of the hurricane as a 100-mile-per-hour hurricane, although I'm beginning to doubt that this is a 100-mile-an-hour hurricane, because most of the winds I'm seeing are gusting maybe to 90 miles an hour, so we might have lost a little intensity here.
Peak gust of 79 miles per hour. Pressure down to 988. 988 on the pressure.
Onshore flow, and I know you've got an amazing example of it to show here in just a second, but this is the strongest part of the hurricane. They're right now in this donut right in here. So Kill Devil Hills up there where Mike Seidel is getting it, and here in Waves and Rodanthe on the south side they're getting it, and that calm part is at Oregon Inlet where Mark Sudduth is, and we'll talk to him in just a moment. I bet he's gone pretty much calm now, or just about calm, and the wind is really dropping off. Now, all right, you have this amazing example of what's happened farther south. Let's just show, before we switch over there, let's just show where that is. That's down at Hatteras, down there. All right, Michael, go ahead. Let me switch over.
Yeah, this is not something, Brian, that is a surprise to us. We saw it in Irene. We were advertising. I've been on air now for 8 hours talking about how we're going to see that quick snapback of the water. That's what Jim is talking about. Take a look at this. Now, Brian, earlier we had this, I was saying, a set down. This is a graph showing the storm surge, and you can see how the storm surge went down through the evening hours. That was because those winds were blowing the surge in the opposite direction. Easterly winds blowing surge away from the west-facing sound side shoreline of Hatteras. And then as that wind shifted to a westerly direction, now we're getting a more westerly wind. Look at that spike. An incredible spike. I'm talking about in a matter of 20 minutes where you had a 2 or 3 foot of storm surge rise here. This is the effective flood line right in here, Brian.
They lived. They lived. We lived.
Good morning to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here. 4:11 Eastern Time on the 4th of July, 2014. And I am in the eye of Hurricane Arthur, sitting literally over the Oregon Inlet on the Bonner Bridge. I'm aiming the iPhone out the window of the Tahoe. Very little wind at all, breezy. It's hard to get absolutely calm conditions in the eye of a hurricane unless you're in the dead center. This is as close as it gets. No precipitation falling at all. I'm going to be quiet for a few seconds. Listen to how there's nothing going on. Just a little bit of a breeze. The peak gust that I got on the anemometer on the Tahoe, 81 miles per hour, blowing at about 20 above the Tahoe there at 9 feet above ground level. But as you can see in front of the Tahoe, nothing, no precip. You can see across the water there to the lighthouse, I believe, is over there, and the marina looking out across the Oregon Inlet. Obviously it's dark, but there's no roaring sound of the eye wall.
Pushing it against the Outer Banks right here. Now, Jim Cantore is just down below Rodanthe there in waves right there, and he just reported in that the water there rose 6 feet in 20 minutes. So he's reported in that the crew is okay, that they're up in the parking lot. They have some high ground there. But he was down right at the water not long ago and saw it starting to come in. And, of course, we've been talking about this eventuality. 6 feet in 20 minutes there with that strong push of wind.
But this model nailed the track of Hurricane Arthur when it was down near the Bahamas. And, I mean, you can't draw it any better practically than what this line is showing, and this was from about 2 days ago. Maybe just a tad east of where this line is, but it pretty much nailed the track on this system. Incidentally, the best intensity forecast on this was the ship model, and that was off by about 31 knots over a 5-day period. There was some damage out there in the Outer Banks. This is from Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. Which, by the way, we were streaming all last night. And inside that circle area there is Cape Lookout, North Carolina. And if you look at the Cape Lookout OBS, here you'll see that at the height of, right when the, you can see the passage of the eye. First we had around 10 p.m. we had southeast winds in advance of the hurricane hitting, and we had a high gust of 83 miles an hour right on the coast there. And then the winds became south-southeast and kind of died down a little bit. It's only about 28 to 30 miles an hour because they were partially in the eye at that time. And then at midnight, the wind shifted to the west between 60 and 68 knots. And that was the max winds right there on the coast at that observation tower out there.